Welcome to Wild Basin Wilderness Preserve. This preserve protects 227 acres of beautiful Texas hill country habitat, right here in Austin. It's part of the much larger Balcones Canyonlands Preserve, which covers about 50 square miles. Many rare and vulnerable species of animals and birds live here. That's why we protect the land. This is a great place to enjoy being outside and learn about the natural world. Ready to go exploring?
Welcome to Wild Basin. My name's Nicole. We'll be talking about a couple of super cool things today, including life cycles. We're going to talk about some plant life cycles. We're going to talk about some insect life cycles. So what's a life cycle, you ask? I'm so glad you asked. So a life cycle is the cycle of life. Everything's born, everything moves through various stages, and then eventually everything dies. But we're going to talk about all the in-between stuff. So we've got this wonderful plant right behind me here. This is our friend, the ash juniper. You may know it as a cedar. A lot of people call it a cedar, but its true name is the ash juniper. There was a guy named William Ash, he named it. So the juniper here starts out as a seed. That's the very first part. A little baby seed that contains all of the information, all of the nutrients, the food for the baby plant. That goes into the ground, and then it germinates. That little seed sprouts and grows a tiny little baby plant. That baby plant, as long as it gets water and sunshine, it continues to grow, and one day we'll have a nice big plant like this one right here. So we've got our awesome adult plant right here in front of us. But wait a minute. I don't see any flowers. I don't see any fruit. Where are they? Well, they're itty bitty. Different plants have different size flowers. Different plants have different size fruit. Some of them we may know really well. Strawberries, great example of a fruit. That strawberry started as a flower. This plant has fruits and flowers as well. They're just itty bitty. So when this plant flowers, it puts its tiny, tiny little flowers out, and they've got to be pollinated by something in order to turn into a fruit. A lot of the time with like wildflowers, we have pollinators like butterflies. We'll talk about those in just a minute with our monarchs. This friend actually isn't pollinated by insects at all. It's pollinated by the wind. So wind allows the pollen to drift from one plant to the other. When that pollen hits the little flower, it's fertilized, and that's when the flower turns into a little fruit. Eventually that little fruit will drop off onto the ground if it gets buried with soil, and then that fruit's the little seed. And then it goes into the seedling, and this may sound familiar to everyone here. And that's our life cycle. We've got the seed, we've got the seedling, we've got the adult plant, which makes the flowers, which turn into fruit, and then that's the seed, and there we go. Oh! Hey friends, welcome back! I was just looking at some monarch butterflies through my binoculars. I love monarchs. Who doesn't? They're awesome. So earlier, do you remember we were talking about plants and their life cycles? Now we're going to talk about insect life cycles. So everything is born, moves through life cycles, and then one day they die. Life's hard, right? But let's talk about the start of that. So those monarch butterflies, they start their life cycle as this teeny tiny little egg. They're itty bitty. Once they hatch out of that egg, they hatch into a caterpillar. The science word is larva. And then they go and they find their host plant, the plant that they spend most of their larval stage on, the plant that they eat and eat and eat. Here we've got this awesome plant called milkweed that gets them all the energy that they need to turn into butterflies. But in order to do that, they've got to go through the pupa stage. Again, that's the science word for it. Another great science word is chrysalis. So they climb up to a high point, they grab on with their little hind legs, and they hang down, and then they create that beautiful little chrysalis. And monarch butterflies, it's bright green and has all these super cute little gold dots around it. It's so pretty. So they hang out in that for a while. As they move all their parts around, they start growing their wings. And then one day, the best day of all, that's the day when the chrysalis pops open, and then the beautiful butterfly comes out. The super great monarch butterfly, those beautiful orange and black wings. And then they fly, they find their nectar sources, and then they find their host plant again. They come back to that same super awesome milkweed. And then they lay those itty bitty teeny little eggs on it, and they start that life cycle all over again. So the eggs, the larva, the caterpillar, then the pupa, the chrysalis, and then it hatches out as a butterfly. And there's our insect life cycle. Hey friends, remember we talked about the plant life cycle including fruit? I've got some super cool examples right here in front of me. So we've got that ash juniper that we talked about earlier. We've got these really neat little pollen cones. This is where all that wind-blown pollen comes from. We've got a little developing fruit right here that was a flower and is now turning into a fruit because it's been pollinated. And we've got some other really great plants here that have those little fruits. These are all really great examples of ones that we don't want to eat. And I've got a super cool example of one that we do want to eat. So this great jelly, look at that color. This awesome jelly comes from one of our native plants. It's called a persimmon. It goes through all those same life cycles again, from the seed to the seedling to the adult plant to the flower to the fruit. And that's what this jam's made out of. So we've got some of that fruit turned into a jelly here. Check it out. How great is that color? All right. Thanks for joining us while we learn about life cycles of plants and insects, including our monarch butterfly and our awesome ash juniper.